All right, so picture this, okay? A world where cars drive themselves. We've all heard about that, right?
Oh, well,
But also, robots are performing surgeries, and your AI assistant knows what you need before you even ask. Sounds pretty futuristic, right? Kind of like something straight out of a movie.
it does. But the truth is, that future might be closer than we think.
Exactly. And that's what we're diving into today, the world of AI and robotics. But we're going beyond just the headlines. We see these flashy stories all the time, right? Robots doing backflips, AI writing poetry, all that. We're going to dig deeper. We're going to look at how these technologies are already shaping our lives today and what they could mean for our future. So are you ready to take a peek into tomorrow?
I am. Let's do it.
Okay, great. So let's start with AI, since that seems to be the buzzword on everyone's lips these days. It's more than just a buzzword, though, right?
Absolutely. AI is more than just hype. It's already deeply intertwined with our everyday lives, often in ways we don't even realize.
Okay, so maybe less robots taking over the world and more like AI quietly working behind the scenes.
Exactly. Think of it this way. AI is like a silent partner, helping things run smoothly. Let me give you some concrete examples.
Please, yeah, I think that would be really helpful.
Okay, so the healthcare industry, for instance. AI-powered diagnostics are helping doctors detect diseases much earlier than before, potentially saving lives.
Wow, so it's actually making a real difference.
Absolutely. And it's not just healthcare. In finance, AI algorithms are constantly working to identify fraudulent transactions and protect our money.
I can definitely see the value in that.
Right. And even when you're just chilling, streaming your favorite show.
You mean like when I'm binge watching on Netflix?
Exactly. Those recommendations you get, that's AI at work, too.
Ah, I never really thought about it like that. But so AI is kind of this like hidden force shaping our experiences.
You could say that. And that's just scratching the surface. Think bigger. Think about things like self-driving cars, navigating our roads, making transportation safer and more efficient. Or AI taking over repetitive tasks in different industries, freeing up humans for more creative work.
Okay, yeah, now I'm starting to see the bigger picture. But all this automation, doesn't that raise concerns about, job displacement and all that?
It's a valid concern. It's something we definitely need to address. And we will a bit later in this deep dive. While some jobs will inevitably be automated, new ones will emerge. The key is going to be adapting and developing skills that complement AI. Things like critical thinking, problem solving, creativity. The jobs of the future might look very different from the jobs of today.
So it's not about like everyone learning to code, it's more about adapting to a changing landscape.
Exactly. It's about being adaptable, being lifelong learners.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, so we've talked about AI as this kind of behind the scenes force, but what about the robots? I mean, when I think robots, I still picture those giant arms I've seen on factory floors.
Oh, robotics has come a long way from just those industrial settings. We're seeing robots being used in so many different fields now, especially healthcare.
Really? Like how?
Well, you've probably heard of the Da Vinci surgical system.
Yeah, the robot surgeon.
Right. That system allows surgeons to perform really complex procedures, but with incredible precision. It leads to less invasive surgeries and faster recovery times for patients.
Wow, it's incredible how technology is revolutionizing medicine, isn't it?
It really is. But the future of robotics goes beyond just surgery. Think about robots helping out with tasks at home, things like, chores and stuff.
Like a robot maid, I could definitely use one of those.
Haha, right. But think bigger. Imagine robots providing companionship for the elderly, or helping them with daily tasks, or even assisting with childcare.
Now that's an interesting thought. Robot babysitters.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that, but are we even close to that?
Well, companies like Boston Dynamics are developing robots that can run, jump, even do backflips.
Backflips.
Okay.
Now that's impressive. I have to admit, I didn't expect that. But with all this advancement, with robots doing backflips and potentially babysitting our kids, it makes you wonder, where does it all stop? What are the limits to all of this?
That's the big question, isn't it? The possibilities seem endless, and the pace of development is only getting faster. It's exciting, sure, but we also need to approach it all very carefully. We need to be thinking about the impact of these technologies, not just on individuals, but on society as a whole, on the future of humanity, really.
Whoa, okay. You've definitely given me a lot to think about. It sounds like AI and robotics are on the verge of reshaping our world in some pretty profound ways.
Absolutely.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I think it's important to go back to basics for a minute. What exactly is AI? How does it actually work?
That's a great question. AI, or artificial intelligence, is essentially the ability of a machine to perform tasks that we typically associate with human intelligence. Things like learning, problem solving, making decisions. There are many different approaches to building AI, but one that's been driving a lot of the recent progress is called deep learning.
Deep learning, huh? That sounds kind of mysterious. Does it have something to do with, like, a lot of data?
You got it. Deep learning involves training artificial neural networks on massive amounts of data. Think of it like showing a kid thousands of pictures of cats and dogs until they can tell the difference.
Okay, I get that. So the more data you feed it, the smarter it gets.
Exactly. And because we have so much data available today, deep learning is becoming really powerful. It's being used in all sorts of things, image recognition, translating languages, even driving those self-driving cars we talked about, and even in medical diagnoses.
Okay, so deep learning is like this engine behind a lot of the AI we see. But how about robotics? Where does that fit into this whole picture?
Robotics is all about building machines that can actually interact with the physical world. If you think of AI as the brain, then robotics is kind of like the body. Together, they can create these really powerful systems.
So it's like brawn and brains working together.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Take the Da Vinci surgical robot, for example. It uses AI algorithms for precision control, but it also needs those robotic arms to actually manipulate the surgical tools. Or think about those self-driving cars again. They use AI to make sense of their surroundings and make decisions, but they need robotics to steer, accelerate, brake, all that stuff.
This is all so fascinating. It seems like AI and robotics aren't just these separate fields, but they're really like two sides of the same coin. They work together to create all these amazing possibilities.
I completely agree. And as both of these technologies keep evolving, we can expect even more incredible things in the future.
Before we get to those future possibilities, though, I'd love to hear more about what's happening right now.
Yeah.
What are some of the real-world applications of AI that are already making a difference? Where are we seeing the biggest impact today?
One area where AI is having a huge impact, it's in healthcare. AI systems are being used to analyze medical images, things like X-rays and CT scans, with more accuracy and speed than human radiologists.
So like a second opinion, but from a computer.
Yeah, but often even better than a second opinion. AI can pick up on subtle details that humans might miss, which means earlier and more accurate diagnoses. This is especially important for conditions like cancer.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So AI is literally helping save lives.
It really is. But it's not just about diagnosis. AI can also help personalize treatment plans based on a patient's unique genetic makeup and medical history. It's moving us towards a much more personalized and effective approach to healthcare.
That's incredible. What about other fields? Where else are we seeing AI make a difference?
While finance is another big one, algorithms are being used to detect fraudulent transactions, assess credit risk, and even provide personalized financial advice. This all helps make financial systems more secure and efficient.
So AI is basically making our money safer and helping us make smarter financial decisions. I'm all for that.
Me too. Another area where AI is having a big impact is in transportation, as we've already touched upon. Self-driving cars are being tested on public roads, and even though they're not quite ready for widespread use, the progress is happening really fast. Just imagine a future with far fewer traffic accidents, and people can actually use their commute time for other things rather than being stuck behind the wheel.
Okay, yeah, now we're talking about some real futuristic stuff. Sounds like something straight out of a movie. It's almost hard to believe it's actually happening.
I know, it really is mind-blowing, and this is just the beginning. AI is also being used in so many other fields, manufacturing, agriculture, education, even things like art and music. It truly has the potential to transform every aspect of our lives.
It's like we're on the edge of a technological revolution, and AI is right at the forefront of it all. But with all this potential, I imagine there must also be a lot of concerns, right? Things we need to be careful about.
You're absolutely right. As powerful as AI is becoming, we need to be mindful of the potential risks and ethical implications that come with it. It's not all sunshine and roses.
So let's talk about the risks then.
Hmm.
What are some of the things we need to watch out for as AI keeps evolving?
Well, one of the biggest concerns is the potential for job displacement. As AI becomes capable of doing more and more tasks that humans currently do, it's inevitable that some jobs will be automated. This could lead to some major economic disruption and even social unrest, if we don't handle this transition carefully.
That's a really valid point. So what can we do to prepare for these changes? It feels like a huge challenge.
It is a huge challenge, but it's not insurmountable. We need to invest in education and training programs that can equip people with the skills they need to thrive in a world where AI is more and more commonplace. And it's not just about technical skills, it's also about things like critical thinking, problem solving, creativity,
Hmm.
those uniquely human skills that are harder for AI to replicate.
So it's not just about learning to code, but about focusing on those things that make us human.
Exactly. We also need to think about social safety nets and policies that can help people adapt to the changing job market. Things like job retraining programs and income support.
It sounds like a really complex issue with a lot of moving parts.
It is, but the bottom line is that we need to be proactive. We can't just wait for the changes to happen and then react. We need to anticipate the challenges and start preparing now.
That makes sense. Okay, so job displacement is one big concern. What else?
Another concern is the potential for AI to be used in ways that are harmful or even dangerous. For example, there's a lot of debate right now about the ethics of autonomous weapons systems, those killer robots you hear about in the news.
Yeah, that's some scary stuff. It's like science fiction is becoming reality. What can we do to prevent those kinds of dystopian scenarios from happening?
It's crucial to have open and honest conversations about the ethical implications of AI. We need to be talking about these things now before it's too late. And we need to establish clear guidelines for the development and use of AI so we can make sure it's being used for good. This might involve international agreements and regulations to ensure that AI is used responsibly and that we're all on the same page.
So it's not just about the technology itself, it's about the framework we create around it.
Exactly. Technology is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or bad. It's up to us to decide how we want to use it. We need to be deliberate and thoughtful in how we develop and deploy AI to ensure that it's used for positive purposes and that it's really making the world a better place for everyone.
That's a really powerful point. It's a lot of responsibility. But it's also exciting, right? I mean, the potential is huge.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot to be optimistic about. We're living in a time of incredible change and innovation. It's a little bit scary, sure, but it's also incredibly exciting to be a part of it.
So before we move on to the specifics of some of these advancements, maybe we can talk a bit more about robotics. We've touched on a few examples, but what are some of the other ways robots are being used today? And what might the future hold for this rapidly evolving field?
Well, robotics is already having a big impact in a wide range of industries. Manufacturing is a big one, of course. Robots are being used to assemble products with greater precision and speed than humans, which increases productivity and efficiency. And it also frees up human workers to focus on more creative and value-added tasks.
So it's not about replacing human workers entirely, but more about working together, like a team.
Exactly. It's all about collaboration. Robots are great at those repetitive and physically demanding tasks, while humans excel at things like problem solving, decision making, and adapting to unexpected situations. Combining those strengths can create a really powerful synergy.
I like that idea. What about outside of manufacturing? Where else are we seeing robots make a difference?
Oh, there are tons of examples. Robots are being used in agriculture to plant and harvest crops, in logistics to move goods around warehouses, and in healthcare to assist with patient care. For example, there are robots that can deliver medications to patients, take their vital signs, even provide companionship to elderly individuals.
Robot companions. That's interesting. It seems like robots are becoming more and more integrated into our lives in ways we might not have imagined just a few years ago.
Absolutely. And as robots get more sophisticated and more affordable, we can expect to see them playing even more diverse roles in our lives. Imagine robot assistants that help with chores around the house, robot tutors that can provide personalized education, or robot companions that provide emotional support. The possibilities are endless.
Wow, that's a lot to take in. It all sounds very futuristic. But as with AI, I imagine there are some potential risks and challenges associated with robotics too. What are some things we need to be thinking about as this technology keeps evolving?
One concern that comes up a lot is the potential for robots to be used in harmful ways. For example, there's a lot of discussion right now about the ethics of those autonomous weapons systems, or killer robots, as some people call them.
Yeah, that's a scary thought. It's like something straight out of a science fiction movie, but it's becoming more and more real. What can we do to prevent those kinds of scenarios from actually happening?
It all comes down to having those open and transparent discussions about the ethical implications of robotics. We need to be thinking about this stuff now before it's too late. We need to establish some clear guidelines for the development and use of robots and make sure there are safeguards in place. This might even involve international agreements and regulations to make sure these technologies are being used responsibly and for the benefit of all humankind, not just for a select few.
So it's not just about the technology itself, but about the ethical framework we create around it. Kind of like what we were talking about with AI, right? Right.
Exactly. Technology is a powerful tool, and we need to make sure we're using it wisely. We need to be thoughtful and deliberate in how we develop and deploy robots to ensure that they are used for good, to improve our lives and make the world a better place.
That's a great point. It's a lot to think about, but it's also really important. So as we move forward into this new world of AI and robotics, what are some key things we should keep in mind? If we want to make sure we're heading in the right direction.
Well, I think one of the most important things is to remember that the future isn't set in stone. It's something that we create through the choices we make and the actions we take. We have a responsibility to use these powerful technologies wisely, to think about the potential consequences, and to make sure they are aligned with our values as a society. We need to be having these conversations now, engaging with these issues, and working together to shape the future we want to see.
That's a really empowering message. It's a reminder that we're not just passive bystanders in all of this. We have a voice, we have a choice, and we can make a difference.
Exactly. It's not about being afraid of the future. It's about embracing it and shaping it to reflect our hopes and dreams.
Well said. I think that's a great place to take a quick break.
It really is a fascinating time to be alive, isn't it? It's like we're seeing this incredible merging of technology and, well, humanity in a way.
Yeah, no doubt. It's mind-blowing to think about where all of this could lead. But before we get too carried away with the future, I think it's worth taking a step back and really understanding the foundation. We've talked a lot about AI, but I have to admit, I'm still a little fuzzy on how it actually works. What's going on under the hood, so to
Yeah.
speak?
Sure, I can break it down a bit further. At its most basic level, AI is about giving machines the ability to perform tasks that usually require human intelligence. Things like learning, problem solving, making decisions. And there are different ways to achieve this, but one approach that's been incredibly successful is machine learning.
Machine learning. Yeah, I've heard that term thrown around a lot. It's about computers learning from data, right?
Exactly. Imagine you're teaching a computer to recognize, say, different types of fruit. With machine learning, you would feed the computer tons and tons of data. Pictures of apples, oranges, bananas, you name it. And each picture would be labeled with the correct fruit. The computer then analyzes all this data, looks for patterns, and eventually builds a model. And that model can then accurately classify new pictures of fruit it's never seen before.
So it's kind of like showing a kid flashcards over and over again until they learn to recognize the different fruits.
That's a great analogy. And just like with a child, the more data the computer sees, the more accurate it gets at recognizing those patterns and making predictions. That's how AI systems are able to do things like identify faces in photos, translate languages, even diagnose diseases.
It's amazing to think about all the possibilities. So how does robotics fit into this whole picture? Are robots just machines that follow pre-programmed instructions, or is there something more to it?
Robotics is definitely much more than just following pre-programmed instructions, especially nowadays. While traditional robots did rely heavily on those preset commands, things are changing rapidly with the advancements in AI. Robots are becoming more intelligent, more adaptable. They can learn from their experiences, they can adjust to changing environments, and they can even make decisions on their own in certain situations.
So are we talking about robots that can think for themselves? That sounds a bit like science fiction.
Well, it's not quite like they have their own consciousness or anything like that, but we are seeing robots that can perform certain tasks autonomously without needing a human to control every single step. Think about robots that can navigate through a warehouse, deliver packages, or even assist with surgeries.
It's incredible how far robotics has come. What are some of the most exciting things happening in the field right now? What's really capturing your attention?
One area I find particularly exciting is soft robotics. These robots are made from flexible materials, which allows them to move and interact with the world in a much different way than those traditional rigid robots. Imagine robots that can squeeze through tight spaces, handle delicate objects, and even interact safely with humans.
That's pretty mind-blowing. What are some potential applications for soft robotics? Where could we see this technology being used?
Oh, the possibilities are vast. Soft robots could be used in healthcare to assist with physical therapy, in search and rescue to navigate through rubble and debris, and even in space exploration to explore areas that would be too dangerous or difficult for humans to reach.
It's amazing to think about how robots are changing the world around us. But as with any new technology, I imagine there's some potential downsides too.
Oh.
What are some of the things we need to be careful about as robots become more and more integrated into our lives?
One concern that often comes up is the potential impact on the job market. As robots become more capable, there's a possibility that they could automate tasks that are currently done by humans. This could lead to job losses in certain sectors, which is something we need to be prepared for.
That's a valid concern. It's something we talked about a bit earlier with AI as well. What can we do to minimize those negative impacts? How can we make sure that everyone benefits from these technological advancements?
I think it's crucial to focus on education and retraining programs that equip people with the skills they'll need for the jobs of the future. The nature of work is changing, and we need to make sure people are prepared for those changes. We also need to think about policies that can support workers who are displaced by automation, things like job retraining programs and income support.
So it's about being proactive, about anticipating these changes and making sure that no one gets left behind.
Exactly. It's about making sure that everyone has the opportunity to benefit from these technological advancements and that the benefits are shared equitably. But it's not just about jobs. We also need to consider the ethical implications of robotics. As robots become more autonomous and capable of making decisions, we need to make sure that they are programmed with ethical guidelines and safeguards to prevent unintended consequences.
Right, we wouldn't want robots making decisions that could harm humans.
Exactly. We need to be very thoughtful and careful in how we develop and deploy robots to make sure they are used for good and that they are truly contributing to a better future for everyone.
It feels like we're writing a new chapter in the story of humanity. A chapter where robots aren't just tools, but collaborators, companions even. It's a bit daunting, but also pretty exciting. Where do you see this story going? What does the future hold for AI and robotics?
Oh, the future is brimming with possibilities. We might see AI systems designing new drugs and treatments, personalizing education for every student, and even creating art that rivals human creativity. And robots. They might become so commonplace that they seamlessly integrate into our everyday lives, helping us with tasks, providing companionship, and even augmenting our own abilities.
It's like the lines between humans and machines are starting to blur. Do you think we'll ever reach a point where robots are truly indistinguishable from humans?
That's a question that has fascinated philosophers and scientists for decades. While we're still a long way from creating robots that are truly indistinguishable from humans in every way, the progress in AI and robotics is accelerating at an incredible pace. And I think it's a question worth pondering. What does it mean to be human in a world where machines are becoming increasingly intelligent and capable? It forces us to examine our own nature, our own values, and what it is that makes us unique.
That's a pretty deep question. It seems like we're not just talking about technological advancements, but a fundamental shift in our understanding of what it means to be human.
I think you're right. AI and robotics are challenging us to think in new ways about ourselves, about our place in the world, and about what kind of future we want to create.
That's a lot to process. As we wrap up this part of our deep dive, is there one key takeaway you'd like our listeners to remember about the future of AI and robotics?
I think the most important thing to remember is that the future isn't something that's predetermined. It's something that we are actively creating right now through the choices we make and the actions we take. We have a responsibility to use these powerful technologies wisely and ethically to build a future that benefits all of humanity.
That's a powerful message. It's a reminder that we all have a role to play in shaping the future. We can't just sit back and let technology dictate our destiny. We need to be active participants in this conversation and make sure AI and robotics are being used for good. You know, it really does feel like we're at this cr crossroads, right?
Yep.
With AI and robotics. On one hand, there's all this incredible potential, all these amazing things you could achieve. But on the other hand, there are these big ethical questions and a lot of unknowns, and that can feel a bit scary.
I think that feeling of being at a crossroads is spot on. AI and robotics aren't just changing the tools we use, they're actually challenging our very understanding of what it means to be human.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What do you mean by that, challenging our understanding of being human?
Well, think about it. For centuries, we've defined ourselves by things like intelligence, creativity, our ability to make complex decisions. But as AI systems become more and more sophisticated, they're starting to show capabilities in those very same areas.
So if machines can do things that we thought were uniquely human, where does that leave us?
That's the million-dollar question. It forces us to dig deeper and ask what really lies at the heart of our humanity. What makes us special? Maybe it's our capacity for empathy or our sense of morality or our ability to form deep, meaningful connections with each other. Those are all things that AI, at least for now, doesn't seem to be able to replicate.
So it's like AI is holding up this mirror, making us look at ourselves and figure out what truly makes us human.
I like that, the mirror analogy. It's very fitting. And this reflection isn't just about defining ourselves as individuals, it's also about how we function as a society,
Hmm?
how we structure our world, what we value, how we prepare for a future where AI plays a much bigger role.
Okay, so how do we prepare for all of this? It feels a little overwhelming, to be honest.
It's definitely a lot to wrap our heads around, but there are things we can do. First and foremost, we need to stay informed. We need to educate ourselves about these technologies, understand how they work, what they're capable of, and what the potential benefits and risks are. Knowledge is power, especially in a world that's changing so rapidly.
So step one, education. Got it. What else?
Be adaptable. The job market is already shifting because of technology, and that's only going to accelerate. We need to embrace lifelong learning, develop new skills, and be open to changing careers. What's in high demand today might be obsolete tomorrow.
Yeah, that's good advice in any field these days, right?
Mhm.
Stay flexible, keep learning.
Absolutely. And maybe most importantly, be engaged. This isn't just a technological revolution, it's a societal one. We need to participate in the conversation, voice our concerns, advocate for policies that ensure these technologies are developed and used responsibly. The future isn't just something that happens to us, it's something we create.
That's empowering. It's not about surrendering to the robots. It's about being active participants in shaping the future.
Exactly. And I think it's important to do all of this with a sense of optimism. Sure, there are challenges, but there are also incredible opportunities. AI and robotics have the potential to solve some of the world's biggest problems: climate change, disease, poverty. If we approach it thoughtfully and ethically, I believe we can create a future where humans and machines coexist and collaborate to make the world a better place for everyone.
Well, you've definitely given us a lot to think about today. It's been a fascinating journey exploring the world of AI and robotics. It's clear that we're on the brink of some pretty major changes, and the future is full of possibilities. But it's also up to us to shape that future. We need to be mindful of the potential risks, but also embrace the opportunities. And as we move forward, let's remember that our humanity is what truly matters. It's our values, our compassion, our creativity, and our ability to connect with each other that will guide us as we navigate this uncharted territory. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.